Hi, this is Tamisha with Toolbox Divas, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a modern bench with a woven fabric top. Alright, let's get dirty. To get started, I started out by cutting the boards down on my DeWalt miter saw. For this project, I'm using all 2x2 poplar boards for the frame, and I'm connecting the pieces using pocket holes. Pocket holes are a really easy solution for joinery, and it was a great way of hiding the screws. I started by putting together the legs. Then I attached the two legs using two 36-inch 2x2 boards. And it was at this point that I actually ran out of pocket hole screws. And by this time it was really late, so I couldn't exactly run to the store, so I used some 2.5-inch spack screws, and it worked great. Then on all four sides, I marked down 5.5 inches down from the top of the frame of the bench. This is where the footrest will go. And as you can see, I'm still using spack screws. And one thing to note is when you're using pocket holes, you actually don't have to use pocket hole screws. You can use longer wood screws or spack screws for pocket holes. You just would need a longer extension bit to get the screws into the hole. Now, while I could not find my longer extension bit, I recommend a drill bit that is at least 4 inches. The drill that I'm using is actually the Makita impact driver. It's small and ergonomic, and I love it. With the frame assembled, I sanded the boards down before starting on weaving the seat. For the seat, I'm using a polypropylene webbing. Basically the same thing you would use for a belt or a collar. I went ahead and got a 50-yard spool of webbing, and I'll have a link listed below of the actual webbing that I use. Using a staple gun, I stapled the webbing under the bottom of the bench frame. I stapled it multiple times just to make sure that it was nice and secured. And when doing this, you want to make sure that the webbing is nice and tight. You don't want any sort of slack. So using a set of pliers actually helps to pull any slack out of the actual webbing. Now, don't be afraid of getting down on your knees to get this done. I found that it was a little easier to get on the floor to do the weaving that I needed to do with this webbing. Also, when placing the webbing next to each other, you don't want to have any sort of gaps. Now, I'll be honest with you, this process takes some time, so take your time. Make sure that everything is nice and neat and tight. Now for the cross webbing. You're going to take the webbing and weave under and over the cross webbing, and make sure that the webbing is nice and snug. And after weaving one row, I found that it was easier just to place all of the cross webbing in place before interweaving the webbing. Also, use a hammer after stapling the webbing in place, because it does help further secure the webbing. Make sure each row is nice and snug and straight before moving on to the next row. And it doesn't hurt to have an extra pair of hands to help tighten each row. To cover any exposed pocket holes, I used an epoxy wood putty called Quick Wood by JB Weld. And then I installed some furniture glides on the bottom of the bench. I rubbed it down with some tung oil, and I was done. So that's how easy it is to make a modern bench with a woven fabric seat. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel. And don't be shy, follow us on social media at Toolbox Divas on Facebook and Instagram. Alright guys, till next time.